When I arrived in Paktika, I was able to travel with the PRT to many different districts and met with many shuras, sub-governors, and elders. And I remember distinctly in almost every single meeting, somebody would say, "We are helpless." And about the fourth or fifth time I heard that, I had finally gotten the nerve to speak up myself, and I said, "No, you're not helpless. You maybe need some training or need to know how to do things, but you're definitely not helpless." So as we started establishing a plan of training in Paktika, my goal was to have people understand that they're not helpless. Only when I say we, I don't mean myself. I mean the team of agricultural trainers that have started work in Paktika. The Afghans, they're Pashtun, and they have the leadership ability plus the expertise to work with communities in ways that expats never will be able to. In Paktika, we've been able to tap into a population of agricultural trainers, all of them educated through universities in Afghanistan, actually representing 6 different universities, and we have young men from 7 different provinces that work in Paktika at the district level and train local farmers, mentor sub-governors and shuras, and are providing a link for community development, the local government, Gyroa, and the traditional governance of district shuras and agricultural shuras. What we found successful in Paktika is injecting or making available small grants and utilizing the agricultural trainers. They help the ag shuras and the elders write a proposal and the sub-governor. And by doing this, the communities have ownership from the very beginning of a project, and the traditional systems are integrated with the formal systems of government, so that the shuras are linked to the elders in each village, and the shuras are linked to the sub-governor, who's linked to the next level. People know what to expect, they know what good governance looks for, and they're going to start expecting more out of their national government. Right now, again, if you go to every community and they say we feel helpless, that means they also feel helpless with their ability to participate in their own governance. The most popular training that we provided was in home gardening. And in approximately 200 participants in 7 different districts received enough seeds to populate a 1/4 acre or half jarab garden, which is enough to feed a family for 4 or 5 months. This was in July, and I said, think about July 2009. We had nothing, absolutely nothing going on in Paktika. In July 2010, the trainers had collectively trained about 8,000 people in 10 different districts. We had distributed tons of high-quality vegetable seed and fertilizer, trained on multiple topics. The trainers had been available in the district centers when people came in with disease problems with their trees or needing information. Entire communities finally had an expectation that they would have information available when they went to the district centers. And they've really been able to mobilize an entire district of communities by doing cash for work, small projects, all $5,000 or less, with a requirement of 30% of community in-kind contribution. Last summer, after watching 3 other communities participate in small irrigation projects, this particular community said, "Hey, we want to do some of that too." And in the fall, that's the community where, through the small grants, $5,000, they built 300 meters or lined 300 meters of canal. And when the money ran out, the community, through their own funds and their own initiative, built the additional 700 meters. In September last year, I received an email from the company commander in this area, and he said, "Caroline, we went out to this village and they're starting to install the gabions." And they stopped and asked the farmer that was doing the work about the gabions and where they got them, and he said they had received them over a year ago and had not installed them because they were afraid of retribution by insurgency. But the floods in August were so bad that the fear of losing farmland exceeded the fear of retribution, and he said, I'm gonna do something to maintain the farmland, and started working and installing structures. And now, in the last few months, the company stops out every week or so. They go out with the sub-governor, and we're engaging them with the agricultural trainers, so that not only will they continue to work on the erosion, but we now have the relationship, and the agricultural trainers will have the relationship to bring them more information and develop that community so that we can do other projects and they can start improving their infrastructure, their irrigation systems, and having more productive lands. The governor, sub-governors get calls of caches turned in of homemade explosive devices, homemade explosives. They get IEDs turned in, and we are the area of influence of the sub-governors and the shura and the trainers is starting to increase. What happened in this area is when the expertise became available and they started to learn how to line irrigation canals, build flood walls, rehabilitate carezes, their in-kind contribution gave us 100% match, 100 meters of wall for 100 meters of wall. And in one case, they kept going until the weather changed and they actually ran out of money. What we found when we do the small $5,000 or less grants, or small payouts for materials and wages on maybe a 2-week cycle, is we can engage the community, and once the community has finished the project, they look out their back door and they can say, hey, that's what we did last week, or that's what I did last month. We went to a community yesterday, and the pride that they had in the project that they had completed was amazing. I mean, the community was very happy. You could see that they had taken pride, and they were out and very glad to be able to show us the work that they had done. And they don't feel helpless anymore. And I know that if we move out of these communities, even tomorrow, they're better off because they have more knowledge, more ability, and they realize that they also, their system of Hashar, which is community contribution, has been reinvigorated. They participate in the shuras, and they've learned how to cooperate with each other and work together to make things happen. It's not about how much money you spend, or the buildings that you put up. It's a transfer of knowledge, a transfer of hope, and a transfer of empowerment that has made such a difference here. And if we could expand this in other areas in Afghanistan, I think we could make a big difference very quickly. I'm really hoping to see that we utilize it in other sectors, the education sector, the rule of law sector. There's an entire population of young men and women who have made it a priority to get their education, even in the difficult circumstances of the country in the last decade or two. They still have made it through high school and made it through college, and they're ready to serve Afghanistan and work with us. And when we have the civilian surge, before the surge ends, I hope that we employ many, many, many more Afghans to help us bring this country through transition and into a secure and stable environment. The community's tolerance for the insurgency has to decrease in order for us to stay in the hold stage. And to do that, they have to believe in the future. I think this program gives them something to believe in the future.